Hello friends, this video on improvement in food resources part 10 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So with this we completed our discussion on crop production management, that how can we increase the productivity of crops. Now we will talk about crop protection management. Now the question is, why do we need crop protection management? It is not only necessary to produce as many crops as possible, to produce the best quality crops. It is also important that we are able to protect the crops from external agents. So what are those external agents from which crops need protection? Crops need protection from weeds, insects, and diseases, because all these have the capability to spoil the plants completely. Weeds, insects, and diseases. So you might be wondering, what are weeds? So we will talk about them one by one. So let us start with weeds. What are weeds? These are unwanted plants in the cultivated fields. So let us see what are weeds. So weeds are the unwanted plants which are found in the cultivated field. You would have observed it even in your garden also, that there are some plants which grow on its own, right? There are many such plants which grow wherever they get some space, they start growing. So weeds are some unwanted plants which are present in the cultivated field. So why are these plants unwanted? Because they compete for nutrients, space, water, and light, and therefore adversely affect the crop growth. It is something like that is also a plant, right? So it also needs the basic things which are needed by any plant for its growth. So it will also need water, sunlight, nutrients. It will need some space also to grow. So that means it will take everything at the cost of the plants which we have cultivated in that field. So we do not want any competition with the plant which we have cultivated. So that is why these plants become unwanted, because it adversely affects the growth of the crops. Some of the examples of such weeds are xanthium and parathenium. So if you look at the pictures, you can see xanthium here in this picture and parathenium here. So you would have seen these kind of plants, on the roadsides or in your garden or many such places, because they keep growing wherever they get place. So these are the weeds. So we need to protect the crops from weeds. Next one is insects. A variety of insects we see around us, and these insects can affect the crop health. The way weeds can affect the crop growth by competing with the nutrients. Now, on the other hand, insects can affect the crop health. How? Because insects generally suck the cell sap, because the plant cells will also have the cell sap, that is the cytoplasm, which is and the sap is stored inside the vacuole, right, which is the main food for plants. So these insects can suck the cell sap. It can cut the root, stem, or leaves. It can eat away the leaves and all, bore into stem or fruits. So it can again get inside the fruits and it can spoil the fruits. It can eat up leaves. So insects can harm a plant in a plenty number of ways. And the last one is diseases. Diseases again are caused by microorganisms. When I say microorganisms, you can think of bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoa. So they are all capable of causing diseases, transmitted through various means like air, water, or soil. So we have already discussed about the means of spread of diseases in our previous lesson, that is, why do we fall ill? Right? So you already have some idea about the microorganisms which cause diseases, right? So these are some of the things against which we should know how to protect the plants. So in crop protection management, how are we going to ensure that we are protecting our crops against the insects, weeds, and diseases? The first one is use of pesticides. What are pesticides? They are basically chemicals which are helpful in killing the pests. Pests are nothing but insects. So chemicals spread on plants to get rid of weeds and insects. However, excessive use can spoil the crop health and cause pollution. As we all know, any chemical is not something which is very much desirable by the environment. So whenever we are making use of chemicals, we should use it in a balanced way, such that it is used only for our good and not for our bad. For example, fertilizers also, when it is used within the limit, then it is good for us because it helps in crop growth. Similarly, pesticides, when it is used within limit, it is good because it kills the pests. But whenever they are used out of limit, it is not good for us. Instead, it is bad for us because it causes environmental pollution. Intercropping and crop rotation. How intercropping and crop rotation ensures crop protection? That's because it prevents spreading of pests and disease. How? Because in intercropping, as I mentioned before, that we grow multiple crops in a specific pattern, and we choose the crops in such a way that the crops have different nutrient requirements. So since the crops have different requirements, they are not accustomed to the same disease. So a disease which happens to one crop does not necessarily affect the other type of crop. So by intercropping, we can prevent the spreading of diseases and pests, because in crop rotation also the same thing happens. Suppose if first you are growing cotton, so after some time you will grow on the same field, you will grow maybe peas, right? So the disease will not be able to spread, because if it would have been only a monoculture of cotton, then it would have happened that the disease which has occurred to one cotton plant would have affected all of them which are present in the entire field. But with crop rotation and intercropping, that possibility reduces. Summer ploughing. How summer ploughing helps? Fields are plowed deep to kill weeds and insects, because there are so many insects and weeds which reside inside the soil or even inside the plants. So what happens when we plow the field thoroughly, what happens is the insects or the weeds which are present under the soil, they are killed. So that way also we can protect the crops from weeds and insects. So these are some of the ways which we can implement to ensure crop protection management. So far, what did we see? How can we increase crop yield? By following three major principles. One is crop variety improvement, where we implement hybridization in order to get a crop variety of desired characteristics. The next one was crop production improvement, wherein we induced some techniques by which we can increase the production of crops, like by the use of manures, by the use of fertilizers, by irrigation, that is with ample supply of water, and also by following specific cropping patterns. And then we need to ensure crop protection management, which we can do by protecting the crops against diseases, insects and pests by using pesticides, following intercropping, crop rotation and summer ploughing, right? Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.